Hey, what's up? I'm Mike Squires, and this is Couch's Podcast, episode number 177. And my guest, Kyle Wolfe of Moon Guitars. Kyle, like a lot of people before him who are building guitars, who have built guitars, started as a repair person working in a repair shop. And then about 2017, set up his own repair shop and started doing custom builds. And now he's doing a bunch of very cool uh, not crazy looking designs, but they look familiar and unique at once when you see them. And I like that because when was the last time you saw a completely wild guitar design that you fell in love with immediately? You know, I can't even think of one. Um, but you know what? My favorite of his guitars is the Exo Moon, which is like a you know, uh, barely barely larger than an electric body, but it's hollow. It's like an acoustic, and he makes a headless model, and I just think that's the best because you're already most of the way there. Fuck it. Don't even put a headstock on it. Like anyone that's gonna be like that thing, I don't know, man. You know what? I think it's fucking awesome. You should go get a look at it, moon-guitars.com. He's got four models. I might have that wrong. Sorry. Sorry, buddy. Um, but go check them out. We had a great time talking. Kyle's not afraid of getting his hands dirty and talking a little smack. And I, I gotta say, I loved it. So, there it is. I had a great time having this conversation. I hope you enjoyed also. Now, if you are enjoying Couchers Podcast or the videos that we make, please go support us at Patreon. Patreon.com/couchriffs. If you like the cover songs, that's the only place you can download them. They're not streaming or downloadable anywhere else. Um, and your support goes a long way toward the production of these things. I think the week this comes out, unfortunately, we don't have a video because we are relying on other people to get their parts to us. So I'm going to be focusing on a couple of new things, new builds. We have 15 things being built at any given time. So there's a lot of work going on, tons of work. You'd be surprised how much fucking work. um, So thank you to folks who are already supporting. I really appreciate you. Thank you. Um, Also, thank you to River City Guitars, Marvin Guitars, and the Guitar Shop New York City. Now, Marvin Guitars and myself, we collaborated on the design of this CN90 guitar starting last year, and we're coming up on the 100th episode of the podcast, so we did this guitar to celebrate. The CN sounds like it's like, what does that stand for? Well, it's Spanish for 100 we just use the letter C and the letter N. That was my dumb contribution. And the 90s, of course, for the Wolfe Tone P90 pickup that's in that thing. Now, this guitar is available at River City Guitars and at the Guitar Shop New York City. So go get a look. There's a great review, like play demo video by RJ Ronquillo up on YouTube, and River City just posted a Guitar of the Week with it on Instagram. So if you want to hear how they sound, go check them out. And it's in a couple of videos coming up as well. But I mostly play bass in these things. Uh, if you're interested in selling a collection of used vintage or cool boutique guitars or a single piece, or you want to do some trading, some wheeling and dealing, whatever, River City Guitars, those are your champs. I wouldn't send you anywhere that I wouldn't go myself. Um, those guys are great. They're out in Spokane, but you can check them out at River City Guitars on social media or rivercityguitars.com on the web, the World Wide Web. Um, they're great. They're going to treat you fairly, and they've got a ton of stuff Bobby's buying every single day. So go check them out. Don't forget the golden rule: treat people the way you want to be treated. Can you just imagine how great the world would be if people just treated each other with respect? We suck. It's awful. Why can't we do that? Don't be a dick. Yes.
I,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, man.
Wonderful. I can hear you great.
Oh my God. Did we get it on the first try?
Fuck, man. I'm telling you what. It is no small feat. You'd think, I mean, I've done nearly 200 episodes. Not all
Right.
like this, but I've done, over 100 this way.
Hmm.
You'd think, you know, I just smooth as silk, but no, sir.
Nah, man. It can't be easy. I mean, this is only my second time using Zoom, so
Oh, is that right?
yeah, fingers crossed that'll jinx it for you.
If you have any questions, just really difficult, just let me know. I'm happy to mentor you. It's pretty simple. That's the thing. It's like it's embarrassing that
Yeah.
because we just you know run like diarrhea every time. How you doing? You all right?
I'm I'm lucky, man. I'm doing good.
It looks like it's pretty like it's dumping rain up here. Is it nice there?
Yeah. I mean, well, I shouldn't say nice. It's humid as hell.
Oh, sure.
But it's not raining.
Are you in Jersey?
Yeah, I'm down in South Jersey, Williamstown.
Yeah, I'm in Hudson Valley, New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were New York or if you were California. Is what I asked earlier.
All right.
East Coast timing.
Looking California, feeling Minnesota.
Gotcha. Good luck.
Yeah. Well, it's cultivated. What's happening?
It's swamped, man. I'm sure you saw I did that free giveaway in March.
So
Um, and shit just blew up from there, man. I got so many orders the like 2 weeks leading up to when the giveaway actually finished
yeah,
to about 2 weeks afterwards. I got more orders than I've built guitars in the past 2 years.
that's amazing.
Yeah, well, it's scary because I make everything by hand,
Right.
1 to 1. So I had to close the books real quick because I panicked and I was like, oh shit, I'm not gonna be able to keep up. Like, what do I do?
CNC.
No, not well. I'm starting to move towards that, but I don't have room for it here. I'm working out of my house.
Something new, right?
Yeah,
Let's get to that eventually.
sure.
I feel like we just kind of like jumped like with like put our toe in the water and then we're like, all right, dive in.
I mean, it's got to be weird interviewing people nowadays too, right? Because you can do all your homework on social media, and I do live videos.
Here's the thing. No one is going to accuse me of being a journalist, right? And
Fair,
so there's that. Uh, I'm just here. I'm here to learn and talk to people because it's fun,
right?
and people can join along and yell like, "Why are you going? Why didn't you ask this?" or whatever they're fucking doing. I don't know what they're doing. They seem to enjoy it fine. Thank
Sure,
you for listening, people. I don't want to sound ungrateful. I'm very grateful.
right.
But yeah, a journalist I'm not.
It's
Uh,
fair.
so I I hesitate to call what I do an interview. I ask questions that I want to know the answers to and that I think in the moment. But
Best way to do it. It's more fluid that way, right? It doesn't sound
yeah.
planned and chitsy.
No, I have nothing written down in front of me. I just have a messy desk with cables and things everywhere.
That's fair. That's a good way to go.
Yeah. Um. So are you from Jersey? Have you always been there?
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately,
I like Jersey. Like you hear all these things about Jersey, like New York is the greatest and New Jersey is the worst. I've driven through New Jersey a lot, and I mean, there's some really beautiful parts of New Jersey.
yeah. There's a lot of nice spots, and I mean, I've been around it a lot. I kind of grew up more this way, which is more towards like some of the farmland getting south.
Right.
And then went to high school up in Audubon, which is like right over the bridge from Philly. Um, where it's a lot more suburby. So I've seen a lot of Jersey. I have friends from up Tom's River area. My wife's from Tom's River. Um, so yeah, there's some nice spots, but also everything bad they say about Jersey is also true. So
A lot of bodies.
yeah, and every one of them has just so much attitude packed into it.
But a lot of bodies buried.
Oh, probably, probably.
Uh, so did you grow up like when you were getting into music? Did you grow up visiting like Philly was the place you would go see shows and concerts?
Yeah, yeah. My probably my second show I went to was the Van Halen reunion tour in 2007. It was my second concert ever.
Right. What was
Yeah.
your first concert? So,
Uh,
I think that maybe it was something embarrassing because you neglected to mention it.
no, the first one I went and saw. My cousin took me to see Radiohead in Camden at BBT, and like at that point, I had no taste for Radiohead. I like started really getting into music via Van Halen in 2007. 2005 is probably when I was starting to get into it. But yeah, I was big hair metal teenager, and it was like, oh yeah, we're gonna go see who? Radiohead? Yeah, okay. I didn't appreciate it.
Cool name.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Now
What's that?
you like Radiohead now?
I can appreciate more songs now. It's not really my vibe. I don't like the.
I have an unpopular opinion about Kid A, and I think that it sucks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, fuck Kid A. Like everything before Kid A is fucking incredible, and then they were like, let's see if we can really mess with people. And
And
not even the band liked it. Like
that's
they've gone on record and just like,
that's that's the kind of music that I don't like. I'm a pop music slut. If it's got a good beat, if it's going to be on the radio, I'm all about it, and I'm not ashamed of that. But like, yeah, the jam band stuff, the trippy stuff, it doesn't do anything for me.
right. Good man. Good.
It's
So you went
I'm,
to see Van Halen. How old are you? You're a kid, yeah?
I was 2007. I was 15.
Right.
Yeah, I had just started playing guitar, and like immediately after that, started working in a guitar repair shop. So like everything just all happened, started, boom, 2007 for me.
Right.
Yeah.
So fair to say that changed your life.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
I mean, it's mind-boggling. Like even when when you saw him doing what he was most famous for doing, and everyone knew,
Right. You know what's coming.
oh, god damn it, I wasn't recording the audio. I got the video. Remember when I was bragging before about how smooth everything was going?
It's all right. We'll just pretend none of that ever happened.
I spend a lot of time doing that. Just in life. So even even when we would see like before he passed last year, which is a fucking terrible thing.
Right.
It's like the fucking Mona Lisa may as well have evaporated as far as I'm concerned.
Out of nowhere, right? Like we all knew his health wasn't great, that he's had cancer and had things done over time, but yeah, it didn't feel like that was coming soon.
Yeah, no, it was fucking awful. So, but even when he played a solo, it was just like it's
Yeah.
like your uncle doing a card trick at family reunion that you've seen 100 times, but you're still
Trying to figure out like how does he do it so perfect? Like it's hard to even use a different word because that's it. Even if he fucked up, it still sounded good.
well, because so many people were trying to do what he did.
Yeah, and still are and always will be because that's what he did to music.
He was as influential as Jimi Hendrix, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's in a different way, and I know people get uptight about it because Hendrix is like the holy thing to talk about with guitars, and rightfully so. But just the two drastically different time periods between music and even our industry, like yeah, when Hendrix blew up, guitar wasn't really a thing. He really turned electric guitar into a solo thing. Really, really blew the roof off of it.
Do you know the two of them were introduced to popular culture only 10 years apart, man.
It's crazy. It's
No, it's fucking
crazy to think about.
unbelievable. No one has come along in the 10 years like in the what is it? 40 years
Yeah.
since Van Halen was introduced into the popular, mainstream.
Right.
No one has come along and done anything close to what he did.
Right. And like
I don't think.
it sounds like hyperbole and exaggeration, but I mean it's true. No one has had that just game changing of an impact like that, But especially on the guitar community, you got people trying to figure out how to tap and sweep pick and do all the not sweep pick, trem picking and all the stuff that he did that he made big. And maybe he wasn't the first. Maybe Paul Stanley was doing stuff, whatever, but
Whatever.
yeah, he made it the thing to do.
He was also a tinkerer.
Mm-hmm.
Like he changed the game of like the MI world. He was modifying his guitars and changed the way people make guitars and amp, like all this stuff. And I guess in some ways that must have eventually trickled down to, when did you start building guitars?
So I started, apprenticing in a repair shop 2007. I didn't start really, I built my first guitar. It was a Tele. I shouldn't actually call it a Tele because Fender didn't make it. It was a T-style guitar that I made and fucked up plenty. I guess that was like 2012.
Is it a kit?
No. Someone gave me the neck and I made the body and finished it. And that, it kind of scratched an itch, but it started like the chaos years for me of like everything I touched, I'm going to alter it now. And I'm going to route this for a Floyd Rose and I'm going to change the pickups in this instead of just buying a new guitar.
Did you put a Floyd Rose on that Tele?
No, not on the Tele. No, but every Strat I touched, I had to have it.
Right.
And then I started 2 or 3 other guitars I built. I did that Gold Top Explorer that I have downstairs. I taught my friend how to build his own Tele. And then it just, as I was doing repairs on my own by like the time I don't even know how old I was, but around like 2015, I was working. I had a regular main job, but I would just do repairs on the side because I liked doing it. I would just liked working on guitars. It was what I did even when it wasn't for people. I was just tinkering on my stuff, or I'd order new pickups and just constantly messing around. So yeah, same kind of thing. It's definitely inspired by that. Well, Eddie Van Halen tore apart all his guitars. Why can't I tear mine apart?
Right.
So what if it affects the value of it?
If there's one thing I'm great at, is devaluing
everything around me. Don't let me touch it.
Did you choose to build a Tele because you were gifted that neck, or because it was the sort of most primitive guitar and most straightforward build that you could introduce yourself to?
Little column A, little column B. So the repair shop that I was apprenticing in is that guy was teaching me how to make it. So he also kind of decided for me I needed to make a Tele. It's his favorite guitar. It's what he considers, the holy grail of instruments, and Leo Fender is a genius and all that. So it was mostly that. And I mean, it really took me a long time before I even appreciated that guitar and went back and wanted to fix it up and make it nice. Probably till like 2017. Yeah, it sat for years and I just didn't appreciate it.
Still have it?
No, I refinished it and put a new neck on it. I put all new pickups in it. Basically redid the whole thing and sold it to a good friend of mine. So I know where it is. I could get a hold of it if I ever needed to.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like a buddy of yours has your very first guitar?
Uh-huh. And I don't know how much he thinks about that that's the first guitar I ever made, or if, that's just his Tele now. But yeah.
Did it have a traditional headstock, or did it have your headstock on it?
No, it had the traditional headstock still. That was even when I finished that up. It was still before me and my wife designed my current headstock. Yeah.
Is your wife involved in the design of your instruments?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh
I
yeah.
didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah. She gets iffy about me like promoting her. She really enjoys the fact that she's kind of what do you call it, like a cryptid as far as my mythology goes. She exists, but nobody ever sees her, so
She's
she doesn't really exist.
right.
Yeah, she's in the room right now, like I don't know, doing something on the iPad, but
She's a snuffleupagus.
yeah, yep, yeah, she's the Bigfoot of Moon guitars.
Right.
But I gave her, I picked out 3 or 4, maybe 5 headstocks that were like my favorite headstocks. I was like, all right, I want to incorporate, this part of this, like Gibson Explorer headstock, the part of that curve at the top of it. I want the tuners laid out, have straight string pull through the nut. So I'm going to take this line off a Strat, and like just gave her a bunch of pieces. I was like, okay, do something with this.
Right.
And it took 3 or 4 tries. I still have the original sketches, and she nailed it. And I'm pretty sure the third one.
Does she have a graphic arts background?
My wife is a scientist. She is a biomechanical engineer,
What is it?
biomedical engineer.
What, did she make prosthetic limbs?
No, so she works in cell therapy and gene therapy. So similar to how they made the COVID vaccines.
Yeah.
But she was working for a company doing uh, something for cancer. It was a cancer treatment instead of.
Ask her a question for me. Ask her, how do they make the microchips small enough to get into the syringes? Because it's
Oh, she's gonna smack me when she hears this later.
uh,
Yeah, no, I make all the Wi-Fi jokes.
yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's been probably the biggest headache over the past year because I got nervous when the pandemic all started. It was like, okay, so I'm gonna be playing video games until this is over, right? Like, it's fine for us the way our income is set up. Like, she's the main person, and I'm extra money,
Sure.
So I wasn't worried about it, but yeah, I did not expect to be busy, but having all of the disinformation and all of the nonsense flying around while being married to the scientist that works like in that field, many headaches in this house, man.
Right, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Do you have any pain in? I mean, I guess we can tap dance around this, but do you have any neighbors that are like, these guys are in on it?
No, so that is probably the best part about this area is like we have like 5 acres. But to one side of me is a daycare, and to the other side is an old lady that I'm genuinely not even sure if she's still alive. I probably should go like knock on her door at some point. But yeah, no neighbors to worry about. But I'm on Facebook for sure. People are like, these fucking guys. Oh my god, here they're at it again.
Here they go.
Yeah, big pharma in my tiny little shit house.
Right. You know what? Tell your wife thank you from me.
I will. She'll appreciate that.
Yeah. I had even though the day after my second shot was pretty rough.
Same.
The first one, a little bit of soreness, no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Day after the second shot, pretty rough. The second day, huge sense of relief and ready to move on.
Right.
It's like ready to like let's have the world move on. Let's go.
Exactly. And like just as soon as I went and got the second shot, I was like, okay, 2 weeks to the day, I can go listen to live music again and go be out and not worry about other people and potentially getting someone else sick or whatever. Like, it won't feel selfish if I go out now.
Right.
It was the first thing I did. We went out 2 weeks to the day after our shot and went and watched a buddy of mine play music downtown.
Nice.
Yeah.
When you say downtown now, what's downtown?
Laurel Springs, downtown, closer to where we used to live before we bought our house.
Got it.
Yeah. Not in Philly yet.
So in over the last over a year,
Hmm.
when you thought you were going to be playing video games, you did you double down on like plans and designs and what were you focused on as far as guitar biz?
um, so beginning of last year, I had finished up an acoustic, which I hate doing acoustics. They take forever and they're finicky. Um, but I had just gotten that done. I had did the not this one, the Exo Moon acoustic model. I had just finished up that prototype.
That's the guitar that's that shape, but it's hollow, right?
Yeah, the purple one.
Bananas.
Thanks, man.
That thing gives me the butterflies when I see it. It's cool.
It's still my favorite guitar to play because especially because it's so light, but it feels like an electric, and you could put electric strings on it if you want. It's just a piezo system as far as the electronics are concerned.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's still the one that everyone picks up, and they're like, "Oh, I have to have one of these now." Ah, shit.
It's not on your website though.
The Exo Moon? It definitely is.
The acoustic one?
It should. Are you talking about the Koa?
Um, well, I went and got a look at your website earlier, and then there was like it looked like there was a pre-order for.
Oh, it's not available right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
So with that whole deal, I've gotten a couple messages. I had people asking me if I'm even open just because there's nothing in the store right now.
yeah,
Um, and that's just because I've been buried with orders and I haven't had time to build stock.
right.
But what I'm doing right now is as I get my models all set up and programmed with the CNC now, I'm loading in order forms like for that Blood Moon model, so that you can order them straight from the CNC, and I can still finish up the stuff I have to do by hand without having to put you on a wait list or anything like that. So it's not available right now, but if you email me or you DM me, I can spec one out and get you in line for one. And it's going to be one of the. I have the Moonburn being programmed right now, and then the Exomoon should be after that, and then the Elite.
So when you started when designing and building these guitars, were you hand carving and using hand tools to cut the bodies and necks?
Yeah. So cutting out the body blanks on a bandsaw. What I've been doing in the past year now is I've been designing everything digitally and having acrylic templates laser cut.
Right.
And then so popping the templates on, drilling out the holes, routing stuff out, and then sanding it and painting it.
And so wait a minute. So you would design it, it would cut out, and you could check your work, and then you would send a program to someone who would cut the bodies in wood.
No. So I would design, the outline and where the pickups were going to be, the neck pocket, that kind of stuff. And I would send the file to a company that would send me like a piece of plexiglass with that laser cut out. And then I would attach that to the wood myself and, cut it out from that
Use that as a router template.
template. Yep.
Got it.
Yeah. So still making everything by hand, but having someone cut templates for me.
I see. For some
Yeah.
reason, I thought that perhaps you had transitioned to having the bodies CNC cut.
That's what I'm working on now. Yeah. And that's what I was saying. As I get all of those programs set up now at the CNC, I'll start adding more things to my website to be able to order them straight from them.
How much of a game changer is that? Just like the idea of only having to really like finish sand and paint and assemble.
It's it's so nice. The first prototype that came in was borderline flawless, and like the only issue it did have, I didn't even notice. It was a hairline crack down the back of the neck, and they sent it anyway and said, don't sell it, but check everything, make sure the measurements are good and all that.
Right.
And yeah, no, it's gonna be so nice, dude. My shop is in my house. Like you can see on the video where I'm in my living room right now. This is my office, but
Right.
Yeah, not having to make wood dust in my basement is going to make my life so much nicer. Oh my God.
What do you do about paint?
So right now I send stuff out to a painter in California that does a bunch of finish work for the Fender Custom Shop and Ernie Ball and a couple other people as well.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so the finishes that I'm getting are like this one. They're factory grade.
Yeah. When you were designing your body shapes,
Hmm.
I mean I like how it's familiar but also just like, you know, there's a lot of nods happening, and it's cool and original. What were the things that you were most inspired by?
Um, it's kind of a lot, right? Like, so I started with this was the first shape I designed that the blood moon shape, the exomoon shape as well, before it ever became an exomoon. But I was a big Strat guy because I went from Eddie Van Halen to I can't play that good. Let me try and learn guitar better by going back to the blues first. So then Clapton and then John Mayer and Stevie Ray Vaughan. So just Strats were,
Nice.
yeah, my big main background. But because of that Eddie influence and that 80s hair metal shredder influence, and the Fender Performer, which was a 1 or 2 year guitar they made in between the whole CBS transition.
Right.
Um, I really liked the horns on that, and I also one of the first guitars I ever had was an ESP Axe that was like a if you look it up you'll see, but it had like a V type rounded shape on the bottom and then those same two horns on the top. So just I don't know, I've always loved that horn thing instead of just the round whatever on wood. I thought it just looked meaner.
Yeah, yeah, no, it does. It looks more sinister. It's almost like that, like a post BC Rich influence or something, right?
Yeah, I get a lot of that.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't
So
I don't think it's hit you over the head. It's just like,
right. Yeah, and that's all of the design elements in it are intended to be like that. There's subtle nods to a lot of different things, but yeah, I from doing repairs for as many years as I did, and it always being my side gig, so I was never bombarded with tons of guitars, but I got to see a lot of cool stuff. Um, I picked a lot of little details that I thought were good, or had longevity, and I thought should be in more guitars.
what's the weird, like I want to talk a little bit about your time as a repair person. What's the
Sure.
weirdest guitar that ever came across your table?
The weirdest one was
There's
probably,
weird guitars that exist.
oh yeah, and because I've kind of bounced around too, I worked in a music store for a little while and was doing repairs on the side there, and getting customers through the store. Um, I saw a lot of like this was in my uncle's closet type stuff, and
Right.
it's a like 1930s flamenco guitar with all kinds of hand ornate details around it. And I'm like, get this away from me. This shouldn't be in here. I don't even want to touch it.
Oh,
Um, yeah, like older weird vintage stuff like that. I've seen every knockoff Les Paul and Strat you could think of from all kinds of different eras.
how heartbreaking is it when someone brings in their treasured, Les Paul custom, and you're like, man, this is not real. I'm sorry.
I've had to do it.
No, man. And you're like, yo, buddy.
It's got a real serial number though. It's like, yeah, but you could look those up. So of course it does.
Yeah, look at this route. Look at the fact that this thing is plywood.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I've had to do it 3 separate times, and somehow it got harder every time to break the news to the owners.
Because you already knew what the reaction was going to be. That's why.
True. Yeah.
So
Well,
awful.
and like I'm 29 now. I was doing repairs on my own from like 17, 18 to about, I stopped taking repairs beginning of last year. So until I was like 27. It's like nobody wants to see my dumb, young, big blue-eyed face look at their face and be like, yeah, sorry, sir, this isn't a real Gibson Les Paul. I've been playing Gibson Les Pauls for 50 years, and okay, but this one, sir, this one isn't real. Sorry.
Right.
I know you don't want to hear it from me. I don't.
Trick.
Yeah, I'm not trying to buy it off of you so I can screw you over and turn around and sell it. It's not. I. Sorry.
Right, this is a public service.
You're welcome. Yeah.
It's. I mean, it would almost be better if you didn't tell them. Just let them go on believing.
I contemplated that, but I went through a long stretch of time where I like really, really wanted to be a good person.
I still struggle with that.
Yeah, Jersey has beaten every last ounce of that out of me. I don't care anymore, man. I just do my best and hope for the best.
Right. um, so when did you build your first, like,
First moon?
first official moon? Yeah.
It's hard to say. I'm still kind of struggling with what to do as far as like serial numbers and considering things officially moons and not, because I had an older logo that was an outline of a moon inside of the outline of a guitar pick. And I was wood branding that into headstocks.
Uh-huh.
So there's a number of those floating around. I wouldn't consider them moons necessarily. I don't think they have all of the appointments now that I kind of harp on about, that I fussed over getting a CNC shop to cut the same as I do them. So like they're made by me, but I wouldn't call them moons. I would say the first moon was probably 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I experimented with a lot of different stuff. Because I mean, I never really planned on being an instrument maker. I was fine with doing repairs. I enjoy it. I enjoy dealing with musicians because I'm a crazy person, I guess. And just enjoy being, in this industry at all. And so I've kind of let my customers dictate my business for way too long. And I'm really just starting to decide, okay, this is how this is going to go now. This is what I make. It's fucking good. Tell me how you want it,
Right.
Because I started out, I had people hitting me up like, I want a jazz bass, but I want it with these woods and this finish, and I want these pickup routes. And I'd be like, all right, cool. None of that is any problem for me. I understand all of the math and science and have made sure that I really get how instruments work. So, whatever you want. And it wasn't until I did a handful of builds for this guy around the area that someone had introduced me to. Guy has money to be thrown around at custom instruments.
Right.
Not that mattered to me, but he wanted custom things just for the sake of them being custom, not necessarily because they were good. So like he would the designs were weird, and it made him happy. So I did it, and I didn't complain or tell him no anytime. But like had me doing an inlay in between the 7th and 9th fret.
Uh-huh.
So it would be like 3, 5, 7, 8, 9. And like the normal fret dots were dots, but then he'd have his initial in between. It was just in a weird spot. And like, yeah, he wanted weird stuff. And I hit a point doing them where I was like, this is making me not like this. And I didn't think that was possible. So I'm not fucking doing this anymore.
Right.
I got to put some kind of limits on this somehow, because I don't.
Sure.
I fall into a trap of trying to be too polite to people, and I'll just accidentally yes man my way into a situation where now I'm unhappy and I don't know how to get out of it without making someone else unhappy. So I'm just stuck dealing with it. So
experiences like that tend to dictate a lot of how people set up the future of their businesses and like the way they limit the options that they offer on a guitar. Do you find yourself doing that now?
Less now. I feel like I'm working back up again and adding more options. Like on that pre-order page on my website, I finally have drop-down menus, and you can see what options I'm offering, as opposed to kind of how it's been over the past year, where you DM me what specs you like, and we kind of go back and forth and really narrow it down, send me reference pictures, whatever. And if you're doing that with 10 people in a week, on a really fucking good week for me, but if you're doing that with 10 people, that's a lot of time not actually building it.
Right.
So yeah, I'm starting to, now that I have the CNC place that it has even more wood options than me, or than I had currently, starting to add options back in. Whereas I was going through a period of like, okay, let's do less and less and less, and yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely still figuring this all out for sure, because again, this is just fun for me. It's my passion, and it's what I would be doing anyway.
Right.
So getting to pick how I get paid for it is kind of freeing, as long as I remember that I can do that.
What is, I mean, surely there's a silver lining in the last year for you being at home and without some distractions.
Yeah.
The distractions that we had in 2019 and the distractions that will probably return come fall, maybe even this summer.
Yeah. Yeah, depending on how seriously people take things, and
Right.
how other countries handle it, and travel. But yeah, no, I mean, I used to go out to local music gigs and stuff, 2-3 times a week. So very quickly that went away, and that was a lot more time in the house. My wife started working from home instead of traveling to and from Princeton, which was like hour and a half commute in rush hour. So now she's home, regular hours. We're eating normal timed meals together. Yeah, I got to kind of build more of a schedule downstairs, and not wake up and work as long as I need to and then go to a gig.
Right.
Yeah, it really forced me to, I don't know, look at how I want to work, because I used to be the person too. I want to say, like, when I was younger, like, I'm not still under 30, sit here
You're
getting hate mail.
fast.
um, I used to work just nonstop. I would work a full time job. Either I was working in manufacturing for a little bit at a shop that made the stands and chairs and stuff you see in an eye doctor's office.
Sure.
I worked in an actual cabinet making shop for a bit, but I'd work full time and then come home and then start working again until I got tired at 2 a.m. And then never see anybody, because I would just work all the time. So the pandemic has really gotten me to chill the fuck out and
Right.
work a real person's schedule, and put the phone down and be like, all right, no more today.
Right. I still need to learn that.
It's got to be harder as a musician, right? Because gig hours are whatever they are, and I mean, if you're dealing, even on your side of things, interviewing different musicians, and trying to get people together to do the music that you're doing on Patreon and stuff, like,
Right.
you're subject to a lot of other people's random schedules on different coasts too.
It's actually pretty nuts. That's yeah. That's a fool's errand.
Yeah, well,
But I think it's fun what ends up happening.
dude, the stuff that you put on Patreon's awesome. I am literally embarrassed I didn't find it sooner than I did, because you put out gold.
It's pretty fun.
I'm glad it's fun. It looks fun.
I mean, it's going to morph into something bigger and more extravagant that you can come see live.
Hell yeah.
It's going to be
Awesome.
ridiculous and dumb, and it'll probably kill me.
Why is it going to kill you?
Because it's a lot of work. But enough. I'm not here to talk about me.
We're spinning this. I'm interviewing you now.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'll ask the questions around here, kid.
That's all right. You're right. You're right.
um, do you have the ambition or the drive to? I mean, you've already stated it's going to be great to not create a bunch of dust. And I mean, the next step obviously is to buy a couple of machines, right?
I mean, step one will be buy space outside of my house to work in. Yeah. Um, I got to build a garage, or I don't know. We're talking about possibly moving to the West Coast by 2025. Um, that's kind of
Oh,
been the no, probably like Washington, Oregon area.
oh, really?
Um,
I'm from
yeah.
Washington.
Are you really?
Yeah, I'm
It
from
keeps
Washington.
happening. Everybody I like spring that on is like, oh yeah, no, I'm from, or I know people around there. I was from there or something.
I'm from Washington, and I still have a Portland cell phone number. I lived there twice, also.
Damn.
Lovely part of the country.
Yeah. I, just want to go. I mean, obviously taxes in New Jersey are, I shouldn't say obviously, but they're fucking buck wild.
Yeah,
So what we could afford in a house here right now is dirt compared to what we could get out there. So I, been talking about moving out there in the next 4 or 5 years, and definitely getting a place with a big detached garage so I can go be crazy outside the house and not track it into the house.
right.
Yeah, not make more of a mess.
That would be pretty hot.
Yeah, that's the goal. I think. What I want to try and do, like in between now and then, is obviously sell as many guitars as I can. I've finally gotten, I think, enough of a business model straightened out and narrowed down that I can start calculating how much money I'll make instead of just kind of putting the putting the car in drive and hoping for the best.
What I mean, so 2 years you said, right? 2 years ago.
So I started Moon Guitars 4 years ago, but I was doing a lot of repairs. So I would say about 2 years ago when I started really pumping out instruments.
And so 2 years ago, your head was probably like, I'm going to start building guitars and putting my name on it.
Yep.
And that'll be cool. And I'll be very proud of that. And I'm going to make the best instruments I can. Now you've made some and you're like, all right, I got to figure out how to fucking do this.
Uh-huh.
I got to Leo Fender this shit, right?
To a degree, like I don't ever want to be the next Fender. Like I never want to be that big. I don't.
Yeah, what a headache.
Yeah, I don't really ever see myself having to deal with more than like a small team, maybe 10 people max.
But
Where I can.
efficiency, like your
What's that?
ability to operate efficiently.
Yeah, yeah, and I want to still be able to get my hands on every instrument that is going to have my name on it and be able to QC everything myself and make sure I like it. Because if I don't like it, I don't know. Between me being a little bit of a guitar snob and then me having that repair background and not wanting to just put more guitars out that don't need to be out, like there's my philosophy for the company is there's a bazillion other guitar brands, and you have people that are never going to not buy Fender or Gibson or PRS or Ibanez, whatever their brand is, that's their brand. You have so many other options out there. So if I'm going to add more to the mix, A, it better be worth it. And B, it better be fucking cool, And I think that's the blend that I'm starting to really narrow in on in the options that I'm kind of adding to the website as I go. Um, Probably one of the best questions I ever got in one of the live videos I've done was like, who are your guitars aimed at?
Right.
Because I never really thought about it before someone sprung it on me. I never really considered like a target market other than guitarists. That's my target.
Right. Do you have to have a target market to because
I think it makes it a lot easier if you do.
right? Yeah, that's you know what? I should probably take that to heart. And
you
so what did that do to the way you think about it? Because clearly you hadn't considered it in depth before you were asked.
it 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 actually helped me start narrowing things down when we were talking about like downsizing options last year. I definitely got ahead of myself, and I always will. It's just part of how it goes being a creative person, but
Right.
I offer way too much, and I think I have a very good idea of what people's options are, and I don't do a great job of showing them what those options are, or painting the picture for you in your head of what your guitar is going to come out like. And I don't have the capital to have like a fancy thing on my website that'll do it like Balaguer's website's badass.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You can go over there and do. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't afford something like that right now.
Right.
But yeah, I still don't really know who I'm aimed at. Definitely younger generation. I don't think most older people are gonna spring for my edgier, the horns that are on every build. And
On traditionalists.
yeah, yeah, it's definitely a modern style. And I try and have something for everyone in that, kind of like what we were saying, I think, before you started recording the audio. In that,
Thanks for rubbing it in, buddy.
not much to forget. In that, it looks like something you're used to, and it has that invitation of like, okay, well, it's kind of an S style. It's got 3 single coils. It's got a trem. I know what it should feel like, and then you pick it up and you're like, oh, but it's not that, and now I hate mine.
Right.
That's the feedback I keep getting, that it really is pushing me, is people that are like, oh, no, this is my favorite guitar now.
Right.
I have to get rid of my other ones.
What do you think the easiest barrier is for folks who are traditionalists to approach your guitar, and what do you think the most difficult aspect is? And it can go across all the models.
I mean, price is one, and that's something I've gone at length at live on Instagram. I had a whole fucking meltdown one day about why guitars cost what they cost.
Oh, dude, it drives me crazy when people complain about instruments. And well, I can get a Mexican-made Strat, or I can get a Korean or a China made in Thailand Squire for $129 or whatever. I don't even know how much they cost, right? But it's like, sure, and some of them are fine.
Yeah, you might get lucky. You might.
Some of them are fine.
You're not going to get a say in any of the specs. You're just going to get something.
Production guitar that comes across, and probably when you go to play it, if you slide your hand down the neck, it's going to shred your finger, because it's, like,
yeah,
if it was fret finished in any manner, a lot
it rubs
happened since then.
Yeah, they rubbed steel wool across it once and called it a day.
Yeah. So, there's that. And then there's someone who earned a livable wage in America, hopefully, who worked on your instrument and gave a fuck, and it wasn't on a production line that was just like going by like a Laverne and Shirley bottle of Coke.
Right.
And
yeah.
And that costs money, because guess what? It's expensive to live in America.
Yeah. Well,
here in America, we want everything for a fucking nickel, and we want to make $50 an hour.
Right. And yeah, there's some it was a whole rant. I had notes, I had prices for different years for different models, and like adjusted for inflation and everything. And like the 80s, of course, thematic to our entire conversation, is like the breaking point where everything stopped. And it's also, I mean, when instruments really started being mass produced and cut on CNC and started dealing with import type stuff. But yeah, the pricing like stopped increasing in the 80s, and now everyone is in love with those prices. That same, like, I can get a Strat for $1,600. Cool. It costs me probably $1,000 to $1,100 to build my version of a Strat. So you're saying I should build it by hand for $500?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So
and it takes probably, I'm gonna guess 35 man hours.
40, 45, yeah.
40, 45 man hours. Yeah. So go ahead and do the math.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me how many dollars per hour you should be paying me.
Right. Let me ask you this. What inspired that rant? Because surely someone came on and made a comment on your thing, and
It wasn't even it wasn't even on my page. I scrolled past a post from one of those pages that just shares everyone else's gear,
yeah.
just a Instagram page of pretty guitars, and it was a rant, and all the comments under it I think are what really sent me off the reels, because everyone was trying to agree that, like, oh, if you're paying someone to hand make you a guitar and it costs any more than $1,000, then it should be perfect. You want perfection for $1,000? It just carte blanche, like
Right.
fucking yeah. I my brain melted, and then I spent all night technically working, but putting together this script to go on Instagram Live the next day and just fucking unload. But
I mean, how incredibly fucking spoiled and like what
yeah,
kind of attitude do people have to have in order for this to have fucking poisoned their mind? This
I,
idea.
the I feel like the internet in general and the lack of actual face-to-face interaction has caused so much entitlement in people.
Right.
The ability to, like, boss other people around without ever really considering that that's another person that has feelings about what you're doing and saying to them,
And that is making the things and their livelihood is
that they even have a life, that they have bills or feelings or family. Like,
yeah, let me build a thing, sell it to you for $1,000, but I'm going to spend $1,500 on it so that you can have it.
isn't that just sweet of me to do that?
Yeah.
Aren't I just a good guy? Good luck with your business, though.
Um,
Yeah. So.
but don't you think that in the time when people like more than ever
Mhm,
people are making things, not
mhm.
even just in the musical instrument world, in every single industry, there are more people making fucking bespoke denim jeans now than ever. There
Yeah.
are more, just like more people making shit.
Mhm,
And in the music industry specifically, there are more guitar builders, and like I talk to a ton of people,
mhm.
all the time. I've made I have so many friends who are guitar builders now. It's incredible. And
Right.
like I get their perspective on a lot of things, but and I know a lot of pedal builders. Pedal builders don't catch any shit.
It's it's absolutely wild, especially considering how much more, and here's where I'm going to get myself in trouble, right? How much more pedal builders are copying other pedal builders than guitar builders copying other guitar builders.
Right. So, and specifically with overdrive pedals, it's like
Oh
how
yeah.
many versions of the fucking TS-808 or TS-9 do we need, right?
Right.
Everyone's got one.
Yeah.
It's like
And
it's the
and everyone hates theirs and wants a new one.
right, it's the super short. And really most of them sound, you know,
I feel like and I believe this so hard. I genuinely feel like if you don't like your overdrive pedal, put it away and break it out next week and try it again.
yeah.
Literally, if you're just not looking at it, if it's just not there and it's not plugged in, it's going to sound so different next week for some magical reason.
I have two overdrive pedals,
Mm-hmm.
and they're both the best.
Yeah.
That's
You're
it.
the only person I've ever met whose overdrive pedals are the best.
I'm not buying anymore. What the fuck do I need? I have a Earthquaker Palisades.
Okay. That's a damn good one.
Do you know this one?
Uh huh.
It's every TS-808 model incorporated into one with a bunch of weird tonal options.
Yep.
It's perfect. I don't have to go out and buy every company's TS-808 thing because they did it for me.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more than most of them. What the fuck do I care?
But
And then
it's
I got an
technically a bunch of them in one. So,
great. Yeah.
yeah.
And then I got an Emerson, and that one is also great. It's
Hell
killer.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure that a lot of people are making great ones, but I have two really good ones. Why do I need three or more?
I don't know. I know I need to at least get rid of my tube screamer and get a new one because that's just how it goes.
Right. What
But
happens to the ones that people get rid of?
They just float around in the used market and make everyone else complain about how much new pedals cost.
Right. See how cheap that one is. Well,
Mm-hmm.
there's that thing.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that the resale market on used stuff does to? Because there was a time when I worked for PRS. I used to work for Paul Reed Smith, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a time when the the market got really weird and used PRSs had flooded the market. There were a lot of them,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of fucked up the market for new PRSs because
Scary.
there were so many used ones on the market and they were fucking cheap.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are 4 or 5 years later, and it is like it's a different story. You're like
Yeah.
completely different story.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, and I feel like it comes and goes in waves like that, right? Like, I don't know how well it ties to how the economy is doing or not, but I literally feel like the entire music community all at once is like, we're not buying new guitars now. We're just going to continue swapping the gear we do have. And like, that's fine. I'm never going to say that's a bad thing, but yeah, it's scary. You know, I can't imagine being on Paul's end of that and having employees to pay and just being like, okay, well, what are we going to do?
Right.
We got to get John Mayer in here to design something so we can piss everybody off.
It's one of my favorite things that that company has ever done. I got to
Dude,
be honest.
it's why I built this one.
Dude, I
I wanted some of that heat.
I played a couple one of the prototypes, one of the early prototypes next to a couple they had a couple of like real 62 or 63 strats in
Right.
the room there and played them, and I was like, yeah, this is fucking great. A lot of people hate those things
Yeah.
uh, for a number of reasons. Maybe they're not into John Mayer, or they're
I
not
mean,
into the headstock or the bird. Yeah, people have all these fucking things because they're
the
traditional.
the the Nickelback effect kicked in real fast on it. It was like, oh, we're all gonna shit on this now. Yeah, no, screw that guitar. That's not a Strat.
No, the guitar is killer. It's
Yeah,
killer, and
and Paul made it so the QC on it is gonna be good, and everyone's gonna feel the same and sound the same. Like,
yeah.
yeah, the important parts, you know.
Have you been down there to Stevensville and?
No, I would love to. That's Paul is probably my biggest inspiration as a builder.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, yeah, man. You should go down there if they have experience this year.
right.
It's not it's not a huge trip for you.
Yeah, a couple hours, no big deal.
Uh, you should go because it's incredible, and
Yeah,
I think it would be a really cool experience and really like an inspiring uh trip for you.
hell yeah, yeah. The only other company I've really gotten to visit was I went and toured the Martin factory up in Nazareth when
Yeah.
I was in high school still, so like real early into my deep dive into this career path. And my business teacher in high school was next door neighbors, or they had shore houses next to each other with Chris Martin, like the guy.
Right.
So she lined up a tour for me with him. So
Wow.
snot nosed little high school me is getting a personal tour around the Martin factory, and Chris Martin is naming every employee by name and shaking their hands and asking how everyone's doing as they went by. And I was like, there's like a couple hundred people in here. Holy shit, this guy's awesome. That's
Right.
a good boss. He's wearing a Hawaiian shirt and khaki shorts.
Right.
Like, dude's the man.
Every day is casual Friday.
It is when you are a CF Martin.
Right. Uh, so is that what is your I mean, you just said that Paul was sort of like your
He's
main inspiration for QC and just sort of like being a bit of a vanguard.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I really like sitting and watching YouTube videos of just Paul talking about the the dorkiest geeky of the geeky
Oh,
specs type stuff.
oh,
Cuz like
Yeah.
he's the only person I've heard that works for one of these bigger companies. I mean, he owns it, but that has really gotten into like a lot of the stuff that I see online that winds up being um, mythology about what makes guitars good. Like he's the only person with the company name that I see going, no, that's BS. We do this because this. Here, look, you can hear the difference between this piece of wood and this, or this bone material, or nut material, bone versus the plastic, or
Right.
whatever material we use. Um, he harps on all just the right stuff, and like that's what I like, and it's kind of in my whole, I want to bring a guitar if I'm going to build guitars that is different than what's out there. Um, he's kind of what inspires that gear for me.
I appreciate that he is not afraid of shots being fired, as
Oh yeah,
because he's already been sued by Gibson a couple times.
right.
One, and has Fender ever sued him? I mean, that would be a bad idea for them because
It'd be a horrible idea for them, but Gibson also has no shame in suing people,
no,
so
they don't.
he'll sue fucking everybody.
Yeah, they'll sue themselves given the right circumstances. I appreciate that about him in an industry where people are generally like, well, it's a small world, so we don't want to piss anyone off. He's just like, look, you
Yeah.
know, they've been making those old Ford pickups for a long time. Let's take the three on the tree and get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
The linkage sucks. Let's put it on the floor.
Yeah. Yeah. Him standing on one of their necks before they put it on a guitar to show that the scarf joint won't break, like
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. That's Paul's the man.
My question for you is,
Uh-huh.
who you hold in this place where you're like, all right, he's doing a lot of the right things. Maybe not all the right things and maybe not flawlessly.
Sure.
But he's doing a lot of things right.
Mm-hmm.
And in ways, he's doing what he believes in.
Right.
And no one can contest the quality of that company's output.
For sure.
If you don't mind shooting
Sure.
shots, who seems like they don't give a fuck?
Oh. I mean, a lot of smaller builders I see.
Really?
Yeah. I have a couple buddies that are also luthiers that I routinely would sending posts back and forth of like, look at the fucking finish on this thing. And look how much they're charging for this, but look at the, this little detail that's off. Like I have a little snobs group that we're all smack talking people, but as far as like big names that don't seem like they give a shit.
Yeah.
Man,
I feel like I'm
any
I'm in a sewing circle. This is great.
Anybody that knows me that's listening to this later knows I'm going right for the jugular. It's Gibson. Gibson doesn't give a shit. Gibson
custom shop stuff. Certainly there's some stuff that they're doing, but it's all
not across the board doesn't give a shit, but like I know you've had to have seen, because they went around like wildfire for a bit, videos of them just like running over a shitload of guitars that they didn't pass QC with a bulldozer or whatever, or like cutting 100 guitars in half because they didn't pass. Like Gibson. Gibson's gone how financially risky how many times, and then they're turning around and suing people. Like the whole play authentic ordeal.
That was a little disappointing. I mean, there are some Gibson guitars that I see them and I get all wet.
Yeah, no,
like
there are very few guitars I have like a bucket list for, because I immediately obviously went full tilt and like, well, I could just make that. I'll just make myself one of that, whatever. Like a Gibson ES 335
Sure.
and like a good vintage Gibson Explorer are still two of my favorite guitars. Like I'll dunk on them all day long. I still love them.
You get yourself sued if you want to make any kind of flying V. It could have like
It could be nothing even
the
remotely
Vinnie
close to a
Vincent
flying
flying
V.
V with 3 points, and they'll be like, "See you in court." It's crazy.
Yeah, there. I had a model that I was toying with for a little bit that I never built one of, that I was going to call the Crescent Moon, and like I still have a couple designs I'm bouncing back and forth to keep that name for. But like every time I contemplated making one, I was like, nah, I'm not gonna chance it. And then the last time I almost built one, I was gonna build one just to get. I'm gonna back up one step. I get a couple different higher names that like some of my posts routinely. Nobody's ever bought anything yet, but whatever, it'll happen one day.
Sure.
And Gary Holt is one of them. Gary likes my posts every time I post, and that's fucking awesome and inspiring. But I was gonna build this guitar to just like be like, hey man, this is you should buy one of these. And literally right before I decided, or right when I decided not to, and I was like, I won't do it. Gibson went after Kiesel and someone else for their flying V. It might have been Sully for the flying Vs.
Right.
And their Vs looked nothing like Gibson's. And I was like, okay, dodge the bullet. I'm not anywhere near as big as those people, but like clearly, like the thought that entered my brain to not do it was timed so perfectly. It was like the next day.
They went after Reverend.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like anyone.
Yeah.
And, even people that were making like the Jackson shaped V's, they're offset pointed ones. It's like, no. The foundation of your lawsuit is that brand confusion and this and that. It's like,
yeah,
someone's making an SG. Let me hear what you have to say.
Sure. And I get being protective over, the specifics that make a Gibson, but like Jeff Kiesel's V looks nothing like a flying V.
No.
Like, it's not even close. There's no one that's going to look at a Kiesel V and be like, is that a Gibson? Nah, that person doesn't exist. Not in real life.
Let's have an imaginary play game right now.
Yeah.
You get hired to be the new CEO of Gibson.
Fuck.
Let's just
sure.
Fun for funsies.
Uh-huh.
What's the first thing that you would do? Because the popular opinion is that, listen, all you have to do is make killer versions of the legacy models you've made, and people will fucking eat it. Make them killer, and make them create a production line that can make them in an affordable way, kind of like PRS has done with the S2s,
right?
Maybe with some fancier appointments.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll fucking crush.
I mean, I more or less agree with that, but I think from my side of it, at least, I'd have to see what kind of inventory they actually stock. Like, how much lumber do they really have ready for something like that? And then, like, what do the numbers actually look like behind closed doors at Gibson? Like, how much of a game are they playing with all of the different little subsidiaries that they're buying other companies and all of that? Because like that's where they're running into issues, is trying to become too big instead of just focusing on the thing that keeps the doors open, which is fucking making guitars.
Now, I will say for the record, I have friends, people that I really like that work for Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
None of them are the CEO.
Right.
And
right. Well, and that dude's got a lot of weight on his shoulders, right? Like, no matter what he does, I'm going to be sitting here with my arms crossed, being a little crybaby.
It's easy to be the armchair quarterback. But, if you walk into a position where you have this legacy brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to say, like, all you have to do is make killer versions of the shit that everyone wants and fuck off. Don't give me this and that and the other.
Yeah.
But there will always be a market for younger people who don't give a fuck about a 59 Les Paul reissue.
Right. And
Actually, those are for old people.
Yeah. I mean,
Old
that's
people want them shits because they give a fuck about Peter Green and Peter Frampton, and you know what I mean. The
yeah.
Beatles. So, um,
Yeah, I mean, I think the best move for them would be to I can't even keep up with how many different series and
right,
lines they have of there's like 100 different kinds of Les Paul you could buy right now.
right,
Um, but like I would just straight up go the vintage reissue and then make a modern whatever their modernized version would be with the Kyle Wolfe Moon Guitars appointments, reinforcement, scarf joints that aren't going to break, a nut that other luthiers, when they replace it, don't have to drill and break out of the slot so that they don't chip your head cap.
right.
Um, string slots that are actually cut straight through the fucking nut so the thing stays in tune correctly. I'm tired of seeing all these memes about people's G strings not staying in tune. Your shit's not set up right if that's the case.
Right.
It's not all guitars forever. Get your shit fixed by someone who knows what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I would do if I was the CEO of Gibson. It tastes horrible to say that.
You gotta brush your teeth. But surely there's a population, a small population probably, but there's a small population that believes that the Brendan Smalls guitar is the greatest thing that Gibson's ever done.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean,
I mean, and that's and fair enough.
yeah.
Like
There's I have to
how
make
do
a ton
you
of
take
fun mouth sounds.
so how do you take a legacy brand into the future without pissing people off? I guess
You don't. It's 2022 or 2021, and you're gonna piss people off straight up. Especially if you're the big kid on the block like Gibson or Fender, you're gonna piss people off, and you just have to be good at how to navigate that.
has Fender pissed people off though?
Not the same way. The only complaints I ever hear about Fender are on the corporate side of things. It's people dealing with people and not the products.
Right.
I mean, aside from Fender somehow manages to redo the Strat every year, and it's still just the Strat, but they redid it. I don't know what they did, but they redid it.
Yeah, there's a new trim, or there's
The,
a new color scheme.
we very slightly carved part of the back of the heel, and now it's the same price it's always been.
You know what?
Hey, man.
Fuck, people are still buying them.
Yep. And they should. They're
And-
good.
Right.
And
But why is it that they haven't offended anyone? Like, no one's pissed at Fender for fucking up like they've never been like, God damn it. I guess in the 70s they made some real heavy fucking pigs of guitars.
yeah. Yeah, they're
Like if you get yourself a 78 hardtail Strat, it weighs like 12 pounds.
well, we're going back to that, and I have talked to a couple people that are also suppliers for Fender, that Fender has just completely given up on trying to even find ash. Ash is going away, man.
Right.
All the ash that you can find now for guitars is either fucked because of ash beetles or because of global warming. Yeah, it's real. It's fucking up how the trees are growing, and now they're so dense and heavy and big to combat the changing tide along the Mississippi and everything. They're not usable for instruments. They're way too fucking heavy.
What do you think about alternative materials for guitar building?
Dude, I am a big supporter of alternative materials.
Are you sniffing around at all that world?
Oh yeah. I'm always geeking out behind the scenes on stuff like that. Like my vice is buying wood. It's the biggest issue for
Right.
our bank account as me and my wife. Like inevitably I see some piece of wood and I bought it. Oops, it's on its way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I mean I blew up on Reddit because of a guitar I did with epoxy that just blew up literally overnight. I woke up one morning and I'm getting a bunch of messages like, "Hey man, I saw that telly on Reddit." And I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." What? What's going on? Why do I have 6 missed calls and 100 emails? Like,
You made a guitar out of epoxy.
yeah, I right on the beginning end of that like wave or fad. I did one. It was purple epoxy and some burled wood. And it was a telly with gold hardware, and like the Prince vibes were right with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it blew up on Reddit, and then I wake up the next day and I've got 1,000 new Instagram followers, and you
Right.
know, yeah,
How? Let me ask you this. I don't. I guess I've owned two plexiglass guitars.
okay,
I had a electrical guitar company, plexi with aluminum neck,
cool,
and I had a Dan Armstrong, like the old school, right?
right,
Wood neck.
mm-hmm.
They're heavy as hell,
Yeah,
and they're
epoxy too,
great, but in different ways, right?
right.
What do you think is keeping people from like more deeply embracing that? And what's the tipping point where regulations are like, okay, the federal government steps in and they're like, sorry, fuckers, no more wood guitars. You guys better figure some shit out because we want to live.
I mean, that's probably never going to happen. I mean,
Probably not. Yeah.
I don't see any highly sustainable replacements for wood. I think it's really going to come down to changing people's perspectives, and again, going back to the whole, myths out there about tone woods and some of that kind of stuff that the internet just believes because they believe it because they've seen it that way online for however long, and kind of conquering that hurdle and changing how people feel about, if you want this bright, snappy sound, you have to have a maple neck. It's like, well, there's some other ways to get there. But yeah, like the epoxy, it's you're creating a bunch of plastic, so that's not really
Right.
great. And I really love using Richlight, which is recycled paper put together with epoxy.
They make the rosewood fretboard subs out of that, right?
Yep. It's really more like an ebony. I know they do like a rosewood color too.
All right. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Martin uses it. Gibson uses it. And like it because of the epoxy and how dense that is, it does really sound like ebony. It feels and reacts the same as ebony. Like I like using it. I'm doing a whole neck out of it for a headless Exo Moon coming up.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to see that fucking thing. That sounds great. That
It's
sounds really cool.
it's fucking cool. I got one of their colored it's their Red Rocks material. So it's a bunch of different colors laminated together instead of just black or just brown.
Right.
So as you cut through it and shape it, you get all these crazy colors happening in it. It's gonna be really fucking sweet, but it's heavy.
Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
In your years working repairs,
Mm-hmm.
did you ever have one of those? Who was making them? Two people were making them. Graphite neck guitars come across your.
Yeah.
I have been fascinated by these things for a long time. Like 20 years ago, a friend of mine worked for Line 6, and
Okay.
Line 6 had some friends that supplied some guitars, and because their product specialists were traveling and flying and doing all this stuff, they wanted to have very stable, consistent guitars.
Yep.
And so they got each of them one of these guitars with the graphite necks. And a buddy of mine who I trust very much, this guy Phil, he had one of them, and he was like, "Yeah, I never thought I'd say this, but this is really killer. I really enjoy to play this."
They're awesome. I mean, I haven't gotten any of that material to be able to work with it and see if it's kind of if there's adjustments you have to make to the manufacturing process to, make that make sense. I don't know if it's hazardous to breathe that if you're creating that kind of dust. I'm sure it is.
Right.
But yeah, the graphite necks rule. They feel amazing.
Right, they feel like satin finish wood, right? I mean,
Yeah, everything everybody says they like about a raw unfinished neck, graphite does, but better.
right,
Yeah.
because it's super stable.
Right. It's super dense. It's not going to move. You don't have to worry about seasonal setups and humidity changes.
So what alternative materials do you think that you aspire to? What do you think that you might what pool are you gonna dip your toe into next? Because you strike me as a forward-thinking person. So that's how we ended up here.
I'm always I have where's my list? I literally
You
just
have a list,
I no like this is the list I come back to, and I just add ideas for stuff I want to do.
right?
And I have a couple on there that are I won't say out loud because I swear it's a curse where I'll text a buddy of mine, the one that I actually taught how to make his own telly. I'll text him an idea I have,
T
and what's that?
T style.
Yeah, right. And I'll give him this, super specific cool thing I want to do. And a week later, Fender just dropped it, or someone did it and it blew up. And I'm like, God damn it, I can't make stuff in a week. I know, like, he's not leaking ideas to Fender, but
So the bigger a company gets, often the slower moving those projects are to come together.
yeah. So I've got a couple things on here. I want to play around with acrylic. I know. I mean, I got the idea to play around with acrylic from the one Jeff Kiesel did, the ice model he did for NAMM a couple years ago.
I don't know.
He had it on like a spinning display, but it was an entire, I think it was a Kiesel Aries, made out of acrylic with a slight translucent finish on the front, but you could see all of the internals of it, the truss rod and the neck bolts and the wiring and all that.
Everything acrylic.
Yeah, so I have a cool idea for that I want to do. I have some more epoxy ideas that are more, from an artistic standpoint, and not just I put stuff in epoxy and turn it into a guitar. It's a bunch of Marlboro cigarettes or colored pencils or whatever the hell.
There's some people who are doing stuff like that, and it's always cool to see. But it's like, there's that.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, neat. Of course you did that.
Cool.
Yeah, ramen in epoxy. Nice.
Did you say ramen?
Yeah. I've had no less than 50 people send me that video, and every time I'm like, it's neat. Why didn't they cook it first? Why not make it look like an actual bowl of ramen, and instead it's just packs of like Nissan ramen noodles,
Uncooked, hard.
Yeah.
You chip your tooth eating,
especially if you try and bite the guitar.
Right.
Yeah, I've got some ideas for stuff, but I can't see myself from a production standpoint, getting into too much with anything that's not wood. I want to play around with aluminum necks. I have a couple friends with different aluminum neck companies. Same thing. I don't really see that as a replacement, just an option I want to be able to offer. Because same thing, it's super stable. You don't have to really worry about it moving or anything like that. The weight isn't a big difference because a lot of them are hollow. And as long as whoever is building the guitar, which in this case it would be me, but if you're buying one as a replacement for your own guitar, as long as you're grounding it, you shouldn't have to worry about zapping yourself on a mic stand at a gig.
Right. Is your buddy the guy that's in? There's a guy that's been building the aluminum necks, like in Illinois, maybe.
I don't know where my buddies are over at Illuminati. They're the ones I did the giveaway with. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
they do all the anodized ones.
I discovered them.
Mm-hmm.
See, social media.
Nice. There we go. It worked.
Social media at work. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. Let's have a look at this.
Yeah. The problem for the way my models are all currently done and using one of them is that any of those companies have to be able to make their necks to drop onto existing neck pockets. And I use my rounded heel with a different hole location. So I would have to basically get them to custom make me one, and the costs that would go into that are literally what it would cost me to build a guitar. So, yeah.
What's the lead time for someone? Like, let's say someone goes on your site and they're like, boom, buy it.
If they're going on right now and ordering a Blood Moon and it's coming from the CNC, I'm probably looking 12 to 14 weeks total.
Yeah.
I should have it from the CNC within 2 weeks. And then I send the body out to get painted, and I oil finish the neck and do the frets and all that. and it comes back, gets assembled. I QC check it and ship it out. Should be 12 to 14 weeks. And again, it's gonna make my life so much easier to not be trying to figure out every week, like, all right, how do I have to stack this week to get through I have 20 orders right now to get through that are all in wildly different stages. They're all different body shapes or different combinations of woods. So I got to keep track of everybody's shit and send them update pictures and
That's
man,
something that a lot of people won't do.
update pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking hard, and I get not wanting to do it. But like, I don't know. I think it's part of starting my business when I did, and how social media just was when I started.
Right.
It's easy to use people's in progress builds as content in air quotes. You know, it's
You're like, all right, you want progress pictures? Here you go, fucker.
everybody fucking look. I'm working. That's why I'm not answering. You know, yeah, and even back to when I was doing, the custom one-off stuff before I started doing my own models, like I try and send people update pictures, but whether I was working out of the fucking living room of our condo for a little bit.
Right.
My wife is a saint.
Wow.
Wood dust on the floor, just wood dust fucking everywhere. Working there, working in my dad's,
Really likes you.
huh?
She really likes you.
A lot.
Yeah.
and thank God for that. Working in my dad's paint shop, waiting until they weren't spraying things and they were doing prep stuff, or they do like furniture refinishing and stuff like that. So wait until they're doing sanding and stuff to be like, okay, I can make dust now, and then I gotta go.
Oh, that's cool that you had that as a resource. Did that have any inspiration on you getting into the, like, after seeing Van Halen, did that have did that factor into the inspiration of you to get into working on the craft of instruments instead of like heavily like playing more?
I mean, so not so much playing more. I mean, like I started playing guitar because of Van Halen. But having the paint shop available to me just made me. I went through a phase where every fucking guitar I got, I painted the stripes on it. Everything. Didn't matter what it was, dude. I was painting stripes on it. I don't care what colors, like every fucking thing.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, that was a rough couple years for anybody that had to be watching me develop. Like, someone save this kid, someone, before this is all he does forever.
They're like the Stripes kid.
Yeah. The Van Halen dude. They're old, right?
That's funny, man.
Yeah, it definitely helped, and like, it can get me in trouble now. I don't use their shop for my finishes because between you and me and the rest of the internet, I guess they're not good. The last thing I had them paint is a hollow body. I was offering classes last year to basically come here right before the pandemic hit to come here and learn. I had a couple different like tiers set up for how involved you wanted to get to learn how to build your own guitar. And one of the tiers, you'd basically start from a kit and maybe upgrade parts of the kit, change the pickup routes, or route for a different bridge or whatever. So I experimented with a couple different kit guitar companies for that, and I had my dad's shop paint a hollow body from, I think, BYO Guitar in Canada, hollow body kit, and the layers of paint literally separated and like peeled and flaked off, and I was like, come on, man, aren't you don't you guys do this isn't this how you pay your bills? Like,
but do they paint furniture or do they just clear finish?
They do a little bit of everything, but it's furniture. They do some military contracts for I mean, I don't even know what the stuff is, but like spraying onto metal parts. They do a lot of different stuff. You'd think they'd know what they were doing, but not the quality level that I wanted to put my name on. So I had to find someone in California that knows what they're doing.
Right. Well, perhaps it's just that they're dealing with a more industrial level of quality.
Yeah, they're also both
Right.
very um old school. Like this
Th-
is the way we've always done it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
enough. Looks
yep,
good from my house.
yeah. That's perfect. Why it doesn't you don't need to spend all that time wet sanding and polishing that. Why leave it like that? It's perfect. Don't fuck with it. That voice is so well rehearsed. Oh God, I am becoming them without ever wanting to. But I'm like some anti version of them. It's weird.
uh, I love that though. Uh,
I don't. Oh Christ.
so, yeah, I don't know. The thing is, when you in 10 years from now, you're
Hmm.
gonna see your father's characteristics showing up.
Oh, I see stuff. I see and hear things now. Like I'll get, and it was especially scary over this past year. Obviously, I'll get like some phlegm in my throat, and I'll clear my throat, and I can hear my mom's dad, my grandfather. I could hear it as I do it. I'm like, that's rough. I gotta figure out a new way to clear my throat because I don't like that sound. I actually hate that now. Cool, little. I see stuff, and the my big difference between me and them, and the main thing that I always try and remind myself is that I care about other people and they don't. So that's where I say I'm the anti them.
Right.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I had to move away from using them for paint because like we were talking about earlier, just I want something that is top quality. I want you to pick it up and feel good about what the price tag is, and um, obviously I want you to buy more if you buy one. That's how any good business should work. But
Right.
yeah, I have been trying so very hard to get my stuff to look like factory made instruments by hand, and I feel absolutely wild having gotten that to that point and feeling good and comfortable with it, and being happy with it. And then being a stickler at a bunch of CNC shops while I try and find one to CNC for me to be like, okay, now you have to make it this good.
Right.
Like, again, I'm not even 30. I can't believe I'm at that point that now I'm like, nah, it's gotta be this good or I don't want it. I'm not putting my name on it.
I know a guy closer to you
Yeah,
with the CNC if you decide that you want to try to find someone closer to home.
that'd be cool. I mean,
I'd be happy to introduce you.
I would appreciate it. The guys that I'm working with right now are doing a lot of the actual 3D modeling because all of my files are 2D.
Right.
So as long as he's comfortable with that stuff too, I mean, I can get the 3D files from my current place and have that stuff transferred over. Like, yeah, that might be better.
Yeah. Where are they
Depend.
at?
They're in Oregon, so I'm
They're
not doing anything overseas. And they're a bigger shop too, so they stock. If you have looked at the Blood Moon pre-order on my website with the different wood options, they stock a lot of different woods that, like I said, I couldn't even get before.
right.
Canary wood and leopard wood and
I've
boat
never
coat and
heard of that.
yeah, some of the stuff I had never heard of that I definitely haven't worked with.
Right.
Yeah.
What leopard wood?
Mm-hmm. What was the other crazy one that was on there? They had roasted mahogany, and like I love roasted woods, but I have not heard of anybody roasting mahogany.
I was asking people
Mm-hmm.
recently, like, okay, the theory behind roasted maple is that it hardens and it's like it you get the tonality of a more aged wood,
Sure.
right? And
Yep.
also it's all inevitably it's satin finished because that is also current trend, right? And which
Yeah.
I love.
Yeah.
Like no one's fucking spraying lacquer or like thick poly on a
I hope not. You
roasted
don't need
bed.
to.
But
Yeah.
I don't remember who I asked someone like, does anyone do roasted mahogany? Because wouldn't it have the same effect? Wouldn't it dry and make it lighter and make it more resonant? And someone had an answer for me at some point, and they were like, "Ah, no, it's a makes it less stable." And I don't, and I remember feeling like,
Doesn't feel right, right?
a, why is that true? I don't know if that's true, or I don't know if I believe you, even though you seem like a reputable resource.
Yeah.
But also, why would that be true? Why would that wood not be as stable?
So my place, I mean, I only saw roasted Honduran mahogany specifically. So I don't know if African mahogany or Spanish cedar or sapele, if they just don't take to it as well. And Honduran's the only one that holds up. But they also only offer it on bodies. I didn't see it available for necks.
Right.
So I would imagine, and I haven't asked them this. I'm guessing right now, but the roasting process, if it's done right, and it's done in a vacuum, and not all the people I see on Facebook in these Facebook groups that are sticking maple in their kitchen oven and roasting it themselves. Please don't do that. Oh my god.
Like, does your oven go that low?
I mean, that's what they're putting at like 175 and sticking a maple neck blank or a finished maple, like not finished, a done shaped maple neck in the oven
Don't
for
stick a finished neck in any hot fucking, yeah.
that is, yeah, I am legally telling you don't do it, but if you do, that is Darwinism. Um, yeah, no, if it's done correctly, yeah, you're getting rid of all of the moisture content of the wood, where traditionally for electric guitars you want it, I mean, as low as you can get it, but 6-7% moisture content in the wood. You're going down to 0 now in the lumber treating process, at a higher temperature, and then slowly reintroducing it to moisture towards the end of that process. Um, but what it does is, in getting rid of all the moisture out of the wood, in more dense woods, it makes them extremely brittle. So you get tons of blowout and issues and cracks, like in the prototype neck that I got with roasted maple specifically. So that's why I'm saying I would assume roasted mahogany for a neck would be so brittle that it would just break.
Right.
It wouldn't have the flexibility that mahogany with some moisture content in it has. But it sucks because, like you said, the roasted woods have a vintage style tone to them, like a 50s Fender neck that has had 70 years now to completely dry out, and
The oils in the wood are hard, and at that point,
it
it's like, yeah,
it resonates totally differently than it did when it was new.
resonates almost as nice as an acrylic neck.
Almost. um, yeah, you get that side of it, but yeah, it makes it more brittle too, because it's not, wood. It was alive at one point. It's made of cells and not just atoms, so it needed some amount of moisture. Otherwise, what happens to a body when there's no moisture in it? It turns into dust, decompose. So, yeah, I would guess that's why.
Voice. I just heard your wife's voice when I don't know what she sounds like, but
She doesn't sound like me.
science, buddy. That was science.
I am her voice as far as the internet's concerned, because she has taken herself off social media. Obviously, she doesn't want to have to deal with like just the hate right now. Actually, not even right now. 6 months ago, people turning on scientists like they have an agenda. Like there's one big scientist union, and we're all out to fucking get you.
Right.
And not like, we just don't want you to die. Just please don't stop. Please stop dying so fast that we can't put you somewhere.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine that's why there's not roasted mahogany for necks. And like, I can't wait. I'm gonna absolutely try and get them to give me a roasted mahogany body for something. I just don't know what yet.
Rad.
Yeah.
What are you using for the carved out
Exo Moon.
Exo?
I think stock, I have it listed with mahogany.
You do?
Yeah. And so the way I designed that too, when I designed it, the Fender Acoustasonic wasn't a thing yet.
Right.
I went entirely inspired off of the Kiesel Zeus acoustic, but had no idea how they did theirs internally. And I got a hold of somebody in like a Facebook group that theoretically works there. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't really have a way to check, but they said there's no bracing. So I had to just make my own deductions and try and figure it out. And I got the Graphite Ghost system, piezo system, for someone else's guitar just to install it. And really loved the way the acoustics sounded in that. So I tried it on my purple one isn't up here because it doesn't photograph pretty. It was the last one I finished by hand instead of sending out. Um, it sounded, it like breathed the same way an acoustic does, even though it was just piezo. You know, I don't have an acoustic thin top that's vibrating. I use like a normal 1/4 inch thick guitar top. I've been doing figured maple just because pretty and I like doing dyed finishes and stuff on them, but I can use whatever. From what I've experimented with so far, the wood ready the wood didn't affect the tone. I'll start digging my grave now. Wood does affect tone overall, but I'm saying in this experiment it didn't.
It has not. You have not found the wood selection, the wood top, or the
Right.
wood top.
In this style of build, yeah. And you know, I'm using a wraparound bridge standard on them, and so I have a block under the bridge that the studs are mounting into that is actually part of the back.
Right.
So that's all one solid connection, but otherwise it's fully hollow. And you know, it's still, you'll get the percussive, like if you beat on it, it's still, you know,
Yeah.
does all the stuff you want it to do. Just with a way more comfortable, way more stable thing. I wanted it to be at the time I was, like I was saying, I was going to an open mic night every Sunday night. I wanted a guitar that I could throw in the car and not have to worry about, and not worry about what the humidity was outside or someone smashing it.
Right. Well, that's great. That's fucking awesome.
Thanks, man.
I'd like to put my hands on one of those things. Now I'm down in your area occasionally. Next time I'm driving through,
Yeah, hit me up.
I'm double vaxxed. I'm
Same.
good to go.
Safe.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, maybe we meet up.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
I'd love to check one of those things out.
Yeah, I am trying so hard to get out from underneath this log of orders and be able to start having, you know, stock available to say. I want to send more stuff out to demo artists. I started figuring out a pricing plan to start trying to approach a retail side and talking to stores to kind of start carrying some stuff. The CNC was literally like a key and a lock for me, and just open the gates, you know.
Right. When if you had your own CNC, like if you had a space,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
It'd be the hardest working employee in the state, man. It'd be running around the clock.
would yeah, I mean, could you? Is that even a solution? I mean, at that point,
It's a solution,
then you're focused on that,
right? And it's a double-edged sword. Is actually a really good anomaly. I feel like I throw that one around too much, because in the current scenario, I'm sending it out. That shop already has a team. You know, they have a CNC operator. They have people just doing sanding, and then someone doing QC. Whereas if I got my own CNC and take that out of the equation, yeah, I save some money, but now I probably have to look at an intern or eventually an employee. So that, you know, it's one or the other. Right now, if everything's out of hand and I can just do QC, I know enough to be able to fix things if I need to or alter them. And it works out better for me currently. Yeah, It's
Right.
just picking your poison, whether you trust someone else's team to do it or I wind up having to have my own.
There's a point of diminishing returns and expansions, and you know, like
Right.
this is
And
the right time to do everything.
like I said, I don't want to grow everything so much that I have to become hands off.
Right.
So, this is it's fine for now, and it really hasn't moved my margins very much. Like maybe $100 on my cost end, but I think the amount of time I won't have to spend A, cleaning up wood dust in my house, B, buying router bits and sandpaper and tape and glue, um, fret wire and I use stainless steel frets, so my tools are being worn down by that. Like all of the upkeep that goes away too, like it completely balances out. And in that case, I have so much less to worry about that I can kind of step back and do more of like the content creator side of things and do more demo stuff, like I said, and all that. So maybe one day getting a CNC machine, but not anytime soon.
Right. Well, you know what? I dig what you're doing. I think you're I dig your spin
Thank
on
you.
on builds. I like your designs. I hope things just fucking keep happening for you.
I appreciate it. Can I
Uh,
pick your brain real quick?
yeah, what can I tell you?
What can I do better? You know a lot of people. You've seen a lot,
I mean, you know, you seem to be doing a lot of the right things now. Like you've got a distinct style
right?
that sets you apart, and so that is important, I think, from where I'm sitting. And and I feel like it could be polarizing,
Sure,
and I think and I say that like it's a good thing.
definitely. I mean, the people that wouldn't play my guitars, I probably don't really want to deal with.
Well, sure. Yeah.
I
No.
I don't want to have to spend the time convincing someone who's a lifetime Les Paul guy to buy one of my guitars.
Right, of course.
There's plenty of fish in the sea.
That's not what you're doing. You don't
Yeah.
want to like you should never have to hard sell a guitar to someone. So if someone doesn't see your guitar,
Hmm.
because if they're not immediately attracted to it or attracted to it over time,
Right.
uh, what are you gonna get them drunk one night and wear them down? You know?
Trick them into it.
Yeah, it's like
The guitar goblin.
yeah, this isn't a frat house. It's like
Right.
you're creating. So anyway, I love that what a distinct uh, style that you have, and so first and foremostly, I think that that's great.
Cool. Thank you.
Um, I love how active you are on social media.
I try.
Like,
I definitely slack a little bit when I get busy because I again I am in my basement. I don't have a very attractive space for taking pictures that it starts to just look repetitive, but I don't have a TikTok. I don't jump on whatever the new social media is. I kind of
TikTok today.
did you really?
Yeah. What do you think of a 50-year-old white guy?
I mean, I'm impressed. It beats the hell out of being like, I'm not fucking doing that, which is me, and I'm only 30.
I mean, the thing is like, what am I gonna do? Just be like, get off my lawn, guy? I
Nah,
don't.
I mean, for your for couch riffs, I feel like TikTok is right and good. I mean, you could put up clips of any video that you guys have done,
Right.
teasers for new stuff, whatever stuff you're working on bass. Like
Yeah.
TikTok is good for you. For me, it would just be routers screaming.
Uh, You're not making any bases, huh?
I'm so glad you asked. I want to so bad. I have so many fucking cool bass designs, but nobody has ordered them, and I haven't had time to build stock yet.
Right.
I am more comfortable on a bass than I am on guitar, even though I consider myself a guitarist. And I haven't built myself a bass.
Right.
I just fucking don't have time.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
time is our greatest commodity.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a lot of fucking if you like my guitars, you'll love my basses.
Wow.
Put it that way.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I also like that you, in your sort of like non-traditionalist approach, I
Hmm.
like that you are like, yeah, fuck, I'll make a fucking headless guitar. Like you said you were working on a headless guitar.
Uh-huh.
Love that.
It's going to be a headless exomoon too, so it's going to be headless acoustic.
Acoustic.
Yeah. And
That's
and
fucking
I'm going to play it.
that's I think that's hot. I think that's
Thanks, man.
great.
And
And
in
again,
the in the
totally
same vein, you
polarizing.
know.
The thing is, you're not making things for fundamentalist traditionalists.
Right.
Who's this?
Oh, that's
Little
Charles.
sausage?
Charles is my 9-year-old stink boy. You
Oh,
saying hi? This is the nicest you'll ever be to anybody ever because he's not really here.
Chucky.
Charles barks like crazy at anybody that comes to the house. So that's like one more incentive for people to not come visit me.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah. He is an anxious mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, go get mom. Go
Um.
get her.
So, what could you do better? I don't know. I mean, just keep. I think what
Just keep
I
doing it.
the only thing that I've learned from what I do when I was asking people, what do I do?
Hmm.
2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, whenever I started doing this, 3 years ago maybe,
It's only been 3 years.
of doing couch riffs.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I originally started doing this on my couch by myself, just like playing guitar solos along to my records.
Damn. I thought it was around longer and just like the podcast started a couple years ago.
No, I moved out of Brooklyn, and that's when the podcast started.
Okay.
So that's like a little over 2 years.
Hmm.
Podcast, maybe 3 years since I was sitting on my couch unemployed, thinking like, what the fuck am I gonna do? So
I know that feeling.
yeah, uh, I asked some of my friends like, what do I do? And they said, just keep doing it, and the answers will come.
Hmm.
Like even on the days when you're like, fuck, man, I gotta make a thing just for the sake of making a thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it through the process, you find your way.
Hmm.
You find what you do that other people don't do, whether
Right.
people pick up on that or not. And if you're paying attention to yourself and what parts of it make you happy and what parts bring you no joy,
Hmm.
you start to create a leaner approach. And that's, I could probably stand to incorporate more of that, the latter part of that stuff. But I
It's a
mean,
process.
yeah, yeah, that's it. Just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Even
Well,
even when it's frustrating, just keep doing it.
yeah. I that is the one thing that I feel like I need to do a better job reminding myself when I start to get stressed out about the businessier side of things. I
Right.
made up that word just now. Um, is like,
Here.
yeah, th- this is what I'm going to do regardless, whether I'm doing it for people or not. I was sitting around playing around on like Warmoth's website and designing guitars for myself that I was maybe going to buy or customize before this was ever a job.
Right.
And I forget that like it don't fucking matter if I have no customers. I'm still going to do this.
Right.
And then there might actually be stock. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah, nothing going to stop me from keep doing it. So,
I think that's the thing. That's precisely the thing.
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Solid. I'll take it.
But like I said, I dig what you're doing, and I wish you the best, man.
Thanks, man.
And I like that you're not afraid to get your hands dirty, uh, and talk a little smack. That makes me happy.
I I feel like it's healthy, and I am always also willing to take criticism.
Sure.
So I always feel more comfortable starting the smack talking because again, I've put as much of a effort and concentration into quality as I can, and like I've screwed stuff up. It happens. It's how you grow, and the only reason I can say that I've gotten better is because I have fucked things up.
Right. That's how you
Um, but yeah,
one does that.
I'm happy to talk some smack in it every now and again. People need it. Everybody needs to be humbled, including me.
Great. I have your number now, so
Yeah. Well, the whole world has my Instagram, and they're free to message me whenever they want. I answer way too many of them.
great. Well, listen, man. I'm gonna you see that back there? That's Rosie.
Hell yeah. Hey, Rosie.
Rosie. Hey, Rosie. She's asleep.
Yeah, she's not having it.
Hey, Rosie. Rose,
Woo.
come here, honey. Come here. Say hi. Come here. Oh, come on. Yes.
There you go.
Rosie, one of my dogs makes an appearance in every episode. So, Rosie,
Perfect.
say hello. No, she's a little
No.
sad today.
She's a traditional Gibson player. She doesn't want any of my brand.
She's just like this fucking guy. Who the fuck does this guy think he is, huh?
Who's this guy at 9:00 in my house?
I'm gonna get her out to pee. And
Cool,
I'll
man.
put myself to bed because I wake up at 5:30 tomorrow.
Oh boy, do it up.
I had a great time talking with you, man. I appreciate you giving me so much time here on an evening after work.
Right back at you. This was awesome.
Yeah, don't be a stranger.
Oh, never. I will absolutely keep throwing all the hearts and like reactions your way. You got it.
If you ever do have questions or you think there's something that I can help you with, or I know a few people around, like some CNC folks and some paint shops as well. Like if I know a lot of folks have long lead times
Mm-hmm.
because there are more, as we've stated, there's more builders than ever. I'd love to connect you to people. I love connecting people together because I think that the guitar building community and the instrument community is a great place with full of great people.
Hell yeah. I was taught that there would be a lot more ego in this industry than I actually see. And like there are shitheads. There's always gonna be.
I think it's changed a lot.
Yeah. Like I talk to so many different luthiers online, and like I, we're all friends. Like I want to see everybody succeed. So yeah, I appreciate the networking because I want to just as much help out painters and CNC shops and make sure that they're doing what they do and get paid and have a life and an income.
Right.
Hell yeah,
If ever, just don't even be shy.
I appreciate it, man. I won't.
Awesome.
No, I will hit you up. I won't be shy.
I won't. Fuck off.
The best mic drop out of an episode ever.
Yeah, have a great night. If you have any high res photos of you with one of your guitars,
Yes.
shoot as many of them my way as you can, and I'm gonna fucking destroy them and make some posters.
Cool. Sounds good, man.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Have a great night.
You too, brother. Thank you.
Bye.
Later.